Okay, so as a follow-up as to addressing the topic, this is part 2 of the not identifying with Christianity footnote, I guess you could say. So basically that's it, I do not feel that I identify with the Christian position either traditionally or what we find in modern times. I don't. Therefore, I can't subscribe to it. It's hard to define my position, but I'll put it like this. I thought of my last rant in the last video, and I think it's pretty clear to me I could use some work in watching the vulgarity a bit. That's the least I could do, I suppose. And the other thing is I could lean a bit more towards brevity, meaning I could cut things short and try to get to the point. So here I'll do it. So why, if I don't feel that way about the fundamentals of Christianity, if I don't subscribe to these things any longer, why would why go on with these readings and this interest in that period? And I think I was pretty clear on that. I don't know. I dare not call it nostalgia, but there is a kind of a love for history and the as well as Roman history. But I'll put it to you this way: if I was a first century Jew and I was living in Judea, or not too far from there, say in the north in Herod's Syrian location, whatever, I think I would be witnessing all sorts of splits and factions. But I think the main ones that I would take interest in as a historian is the split that doesn't seem to be discussed as much. We like to think of it, falsely so, I'm sorry to say, a split between Jews, those following Jesus, and those not. I think that is inappropriate and inaccurate. I think the real split occurred amongst the Tzaddikim and those who went on to be called, or known as Pharisees. But that's not to say that the Tzaddikim themselves were the ones who became Christians. No. See, it's these kind of smears in the historical investigation that have led to a lot of confusion. And some aren't confused because they do not question these things. You know what I mean? More of the religious bent. What's that got to do with my salvation and whether or not Jesus is my personal Lord and Savior? The thing is, there was a division amongst these people that I believe led to what we now know as the Qumran communities, where there were Orthodox from Jews on both sides, both in the Pharisaic communities as well as this splitting off. But it seems like, I think there was some sort of contention concerning the temple itself, that there was a defilement that had taken place you know, before the Roman occupation really took root, back in the days of the Seleucids, during the time of Judah Maccabee. There was a defilement there. There was a lot of questions being raised about lineage concerning who should be a priest and who could be an actual monarch, these sort of things. But there was a lot of puppetry on the part of Rome, too. Mark Antony putting in Herod the Great, and Octavian later utilizing that position. Herod not being a Jew, being an Idumean from the south, who was known to be one of the conquered during those fights amongst the Jews in that area. A people, Idumeans, who were, actually offered circumcision and conversion to Judaism, to live, actually, to go on and live. And that was the thing. So, to suggest that Herod was a convinced Jew is a little bit shaky. I'm sorry to say, some scholars debate that, but I don't think so. There was a grafting between these two, between the Hasmoneans and Herod's people. And I think that word grafting in, used in the Old Testament, is misread today to mean something else entirely. And I think that grafting in is something that Paul also talked about. You see, we would look on an array of individuals from that period and just identify them all as Jews. Actual Jews, But there was a lot of contention about that too, with conversions and whatnot. And but it's these kind of things, these facts and points and historical contexts that lead to an array of questions. And it's hard to get into, and I won't do that with religious people anymore. And I'm just saying that I do not identify. Like I said, I can't see myself joining any congregation anytime soon. There's a reason for that. I do not subscribe to the fundamentals, especially the fundamentals that came shortly thereafter. The Jewish wars ending, semi-ending at 70 AD in Judea, and then later the final stamping outs of revolts in 135, 136 during the Bar Kokhba revolt. And then these, things like the Council of Nicaea, it's a big bologna sandwich to me. And I think there were a lot of opportunists at the time simply trying to hold their positions as well as hold the empire together in the East that would subscribe to this stuff. And the things grew from there, as well as the first few centuries going by where, a Christian priesthood was being formed, where they were actually investigating scriptures and making more points and reestablishing new fundamentals. I mean, this is all. I'm sorry. I just, I contest with a lot of the things that I was taught to believe at one time, but I'm not going there anymore. I'm pretty much done with it. Like I said, I can explain things, but the main point was to. Although it sounds like I'm talking about me, it was really basically to remind people that I don't want anyone to be under any false pretext when it comes to me. I did keep it real in the last one, as you can see, with the swearing and whatnot. I never tried to lead people to believe that I was something I was not. But my rhetoric or things that I say may lead people to their own conclusions. Now, if they find that their own conclusions, they themselves were wrong about something, they said, well, wait, that doesn't sound like he's that. That doesn't mean, I'm deceiving them. It means that they had no idea in the first place. And so that when they hear something that contradicts their view of the person or persona online or whatever, they're going to, they're going to respond that way. And there's nothing I can do about that, and that's fine. But not here to lie or deceive you concerning the texts I'm reading and concerning this channel. I have no aspirations spiritually to pursue a Jesus in a religious sense. I really don't. I do believe in God, only I'm not quite sure what that means at this point. I've gone on to branch out to learn about the other faith structures, and as to even to learn as to why they reject certain aspects of Christianity. I've come to understand those. I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the baby, or the baby out with the baby water, that sort of thing. I'm not out to annihilate religion with an atheistic tone. I'm not out to do that either. But I just want people to know that, so that they are having, so that they're aware of this, and that they don't feel like they've attached to something. They've attached themselves to something unwittingly that may be contradictory to their particular faith structure. Okay? So I'm just putting that out there and reminding that if people wish to unsubscribe, I really won't hold that against them. I am delighted when people do subscribe, of course. I'm not at a level where I'm receiving any monetary gain from these things. I've looked into that a bit. It'll be a while for that to even kick in with the low numbers. There's a handful of people that have taken note of the channel, and like I said, that's a positive thing, but it's not my intention. And regardless, I'll continue to do what I'm doing. I mean, you do those things when you have no subscribers. That's how things get started, because you want to do it. You love the reading or the study or the topic, or the idea of putting things out there for someone who might be looking for a particular area of interest, or particular reading, etc., etc. I think you get the point, and I'm going to get off this now because I got other things to do, quite frankly. But if there are people out there who have any contentions and do have some questions about something I'd say, and they want to question that, rather than just branding me a liar, bring the things to the forefront so we can discuss them. And, perhaps you can tell me why you feel the way you do, and perhaps I can tell you why I feel like I do. Because otherwise, I just see this kind of thing as people going behind everyone's back. It's like suddenly when someone's up there online or whatever, it's like they're not necessarily dealing with a real person. There's a kind of like a disconnect there, or and it's just wrong. It's not just in this area of religion, no. Although what I do see in the various churches today actually resembles a lot of the things that were going on in the first couple of centuries of the faith. Just people at their throats, nitpicking every word. You can't say this, and it's so funny. It's like, I remember someone mentioning the idea that, pick up a phone book sometime and look under, well, we don't have those so much anymore. We don't. If you do, pick up a phone book. If you have one, I don't know. Why would we hold on to these things, right, in this day and age? But look under synagogues, and then look under churches, and note the difference. The variation in churches, it just goes on and on and on. It just goes to. It says something. There's a lot to be said there. Okay. the foundation is a little bit, I don't know, some would suggest contrived, but whatever. It's not, how you conduct your life is probably a lot more important there. And I say that knowing full well of, many of the mistakes I've certainly made and many of the flaws in my own character or my temperament, etc., etc. I'm not saying, how do I put this? I'm not saying I don't care, but I don't care. If that makes sense. It's like, I'm not here to defend myself. But if you find that there's something that doesn't line up, you're open to leave your comments. But, I don't think it's appropriate to be calling up people a liar unless you are willing to point out the lie for investigation. By you, by me. So we look at it and we, rather say, oh, well, I guess you're right there. Or, no, I think you've made an error there, or whatever. Like, because otherwise you just end up being one more of these, these bitter, loser type, like I've described it before, church parking lot gossips, this, that, and you get a lot of those you get a lot of those personality. Gee, I can't speak this morning. You get a lot of those personalities presuming upon areas within the municipality, dealing with social services and stuff. These people are getting so personal and they're turning on each other, and it's like, wow, I've seen this personality before. Where have I seen this? When things were good, even I saw it. When everyone was, pursuing larger goals and prospering and making money and, building a future and making plans. And where did I see it before? Oh, yeah, in the church. You could always depend on a certain group, a fringe loser group within the church, to be going on about tearing each other apart. Oh, don't get me wrong, that's not the reason I certainly broke away. No. The reasons I did it, well, oh my goodness. You got about 30 years for me to explain? No, but it was initially questions that I was asking that weren't being answered. And when they didn't have the answers, and they ran out of time to discuss such things with you, you moved on, right? But you learn a lot, too, during that journey. Making those kind of decisions can be the loneliest path you can imagine. The same thing could be attributed to things like conversion. Yeah, sorry, the modern Jesus and all the things that have been attached to his name, whether they are loving, compassionate things or divisive, almost religiously fascist things. What I'm saying is, whether they're good or bad, a lot of them I just don't accept. The axioms, the postulates. So I can't accept those things. I cannot. But see, a lot of people, once pressed, can't really accept them, but they go along with things for different reasons. Oh, this person's so friendly and loving and willing to help, and they're so kind, and they're nice, and they're polite, so that's God. No, that's not enough for some people, okay? These things aren't about just feelings, but a lot of people are subjected to the face structures they find themselves pursuing on an emotional basis. That's another topic altogether. Anyway, we'll just kind of leave it there. I hope that clears the air. I won't be, I'll put it this way. Asking a question about a person's faith structure, I don't have any problem with that as a guy going up here online. But I'm not going to get into, you know, other things concerning, personal things like family or, you know, that's, you know what I mean? I want to protect the privacy of my friends and family and stuff, so I won't get too, into detail about other things, identity problems, or concerns people may have. But I can tell you exactly how I feel about the faiths, and it's not just an intellectual tool to get around not facing the facts that are supposedly facts, and that, it's not that. I'll tell you, it's worse. It's worse than that. So again, my Christian friends, or those trying to approach from a Jewish angle, the Jews for Jesus kind of attitude, for those people, all apologies. But I want you to know where I stand. But I'm glad you came to join and make your comments, and some of you subscribing. I think that's wonderful. But understand, there will be no deceptions where I draw the line on these things. Okay. Until then, I guess I encourage some of you out there, the armchair scholars, so to speak, continue to look into things and explore and sometimes ask uncomfortable questions. I'll continue doing what I'm doing, but I can't, I don't know. God willing, I'll keep chugging along. Thanks for listening.